Who is the lover? Allah. Who is Ar-Rahman? Allah. Who is Al-Mannan? La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger, to Allah is our return. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Let me welcome all of you to Regent Business School. My name is Ahmed Shaikh. It really is a pleasure and an honor to have all of you at our business school this morning. I'm very grateful to the brothers at IPCI, Muhammad Khan, Rais Muhammad Khan, for always keeping us as part of the routine for the annual groups that come through. May Allah bless them for the work they do and for the legacy they continue of the late Sheikh Ahmed Deedat, rahimahullah, and Allah bless them with success in their work, inshallah, them and their families. A special welcome to an old friend of mine. He's not old, but he's an old friend, Dr. Shuaib. I've known him for many years. We met in the late 1990s when I was involved in some community work, and alhamdulillah, we've kept a relationship since then. So welcome to you, Dr. Shuaib Sayyid. To brothers and sisters from different parts of the world, welcome to South Africa. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the city of Durban and to the east coast of South Africa. For those of you who are South African, welcome to Regent and welcome to Durban. As I mentioned, my name is Ahmed. I'm part of this business school. It's a private university in South Africa. And I know this is normally an awkward part of doing a presentation, but I would like to quickly get to know your name, where you come from or what you do, literally in a few seconds. If you don't mind, it just would help me understand who we are talking to this morning, if that's okay with everybody. Is that fine? Should we start on the right-hand side here?
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Ismail.
Ismail.
From Western area, Johannesburg.
Yes.
And, I'm a student.
Welcome, Ismail.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My name is Muhammad Ismail.
Muhammad Ismail.
Yeah, I'm teaching there in Johannesburg.
Johannesburg.
I'm coming from Uganda.
Uganda. Aha, Jumbo.
Sir.
Okay, welcome. Yes, sir.
My name is Abdullah
Abdullah.
from Lomé,
Lomé.
Togo.
Togo. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Aha. Salam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Dr. Ahmed from Johannesburg.
Johannesburg. It's warmer in Durban, huh?
Yeah, much.
It's much warmer in Durban, yeah. Welcome. Salam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Mahira. I'm from Cape Town.
Mahir.
Mahira.
Mahira.
Yes, from Cape Town, and I'm the principal of a girls' female.
Welcome, Mahira. It's also warmer in Durban, huh? I was in Cape Town last week. It's wet, it's raining, and there's a bit of snow.
It's actually very nice with you with us.
Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Marwa Hilmi.
Marwa.
Marwa Hilmi.
Aywa.
I came from Jeddah, Saudi
Jeddah.
Arabia.
Now,
I'm an English Arabic instructor at King Abdulaziz University, located in Jeddah.
welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. My
Salam.
name is Ashmed Khan. Unfortunately, no relation to Muhammad Khan.
Unfortunately.
No, the one from Khan Academy, maybe. I'm from Cape Town, and essentially I've been teaching abroad for the past 10 years.
Teaching abroad.
Teaching abroad, teaching
Which part of the world?
Korea, Saudi Arabia, but currently Oman.
Interesting. Hashmat, huh? Welcome.
Yusuf from Cape Town, full-time job, Mahira's husband, and I'm an imam.
His full-time job is he is Mahira's husband. Barakallah, Allah bless you for that. Thanks, Junaid. Now, welcome.
Yeah, I'm an imam of Masjid in Cape Town.
Ahlan.
Dr. Muhammad Hadi Hussain.
Faddal ya doctor.
And then I'm in Saudi now. I have PhD in the green concrete from UK.
Ahlan.
Special in green concrete, green concrete.
Ahlan.
I made from 2 years. a
Okay.
seminar about green concrete in Cape Town.
I see. Dr. Yusuf, huh? Your first, Muhammad.
Hadi Mudkhali.
Hadi.
Hadi Mudkhali is from
No.
Jizan,
Jizan.
south of Saudi Arabia.
South of Saudi Arabia.
I'm supervisor of Jizan Community Center for Dawah and Guidance.
Okay.
And I'm visiting my place, my second place here.
Welcome.
IPCI.
Welcome. بيتنا وبيتك.
Beitul. It's my house.
Alhamdulillah. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yes, of course. You asked for my shoe. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Did you meet him before?
He just met me and he said, what size do you take? I could take them from you.
He's going to speak at the masjid, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
My name is
Khudaifa, yes.
but I'm right now residing in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Originally from which part of the U.S.?
Philadelphia,
Philadelphia, Philly.
the home of brotherly love and very mean policemen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You been to the States?
I've been to Philadelphia. I visited UPenn, which is in Philly. Yeah.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Yeah, Wharton Business School is at UPenn.
Yes, it is.
So I visited Wharton, yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's a good, yes, very
That's right. Good. Welcome.
Is it California?
It's good to be
No, I haven't been to the West Coast, only to the cold part of the U.S.
To remind you with Cape Town, Durban, so it's good.
It's similar. It's similar.
Mr. Sheikh, I'm so sorry. Brother Hudayfa Amriki
Okay, that's enough.
does a lot of TV shows for kids, but he takes on different Sahabas' images with a stick and
Really?
just creation of drama.
Okay.
So he's a performer like you, MK?
Mashallah, good da'i.
Oh, you learning from
He thought I was going to me. I'm not really, I don't know why he's saying it.
Welcome, Hudayfa. Now,
My name is Ahmed Shaikh. Assalamu alaikum. My name is
Salam
Ahmed.
wa
I'm a medical doctor.
medical
I
doctor.
graduated from Jeddah King Abdulaziz University.
Okay.
I'm based in King Fahad Medical City. I study now a residency program in sports medicine. And
Sports
also-
medicine.
Yeah, and also basketball professional fighting.
Basketball, interesting. Welcome, doctor. Muhammad, of course, nobody needs to introduce. He's the master. Yes, brother. You're writing the title down, huh? This is not an exam, huh?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Assalamu rahmatullah.
Brother Alpha Omar Berry from Guinea Conakry, graduate in administration
Yes.
and management of cultural administration or institution.
So this is in West Africa, huh?
Yeah, Guinea Conakry.
Conakry, Guinea. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Khaliduddin
Khaliduddin. Now,
from Joburg.
Johannesburg. Welcome.
I'm teaching Islamic, what you call, madrasa.
At a madrasa. Okay, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
My name is Yadin Bakhai. I'm a teacher at the Islamic field at Iman Foundation.
Okay.
In the capital Joburg.
Johannesburg also. Salam wa rahmatullah. Rustenburg, Northwest, yes. Welcome. Jazakumullah khairan to all of you. Welcome once again. Our topic for today is Disruptive Technology and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And then the subtitle is what it means and how should the Ummah respond. So one, we want to talk about the external environment, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and we will, towards the end of our presentation, inshallah, we will talk about how as a community, as a global ummah, we should respond to what is happening in the external environment. Let me start with a story that I often start this presentation with. This is a set of conjoined twins, joined at the head, as you can see. It's quite a rare case of conjoined twins. The statistic is that 1 in 2.5 million births are conjoined. But joined at the head is quite rare, and what's particularly rare about these two children, they're American children from New York, is they share about 4 centimeters of brain tissue. So they're not just joined at the skull, but they have about 4 centimeters of common brain tissue, which makes their separation very difficult, right? Now, I remember, in fact, the surgeon, yeah, the surgeon who performed the surgery in Saudi Arabia is the same surgeon who performed this surgery, or was part of the team who performed the surgery in Saudi Arabia. There were, I think, a set of Syrian twins in Saudi also who had conjoined twins who were separated. So this particular one is complicated because of the sharing of brain tissue. This happened in 2016 November. The children were about a year old, so they were born at the end of 2015. So this story is about a year old. But what is unique about this particular story is how the surgeons used 3D printing to perform the separation of the twins, right? So the surgeons based in New York, in the Bronx, had a company on the west coast of America who was called 3D Systems. It's a 3D printing company called 3D Systems, and they worked with the surgeons to model a series of 3D prints of the children's heads, the skulls, brain tissue, and the vessels. It's the first time where surgeons work so closely with 3D printers to actually attempt to perform the surgery on models before they performed it on the children. So these surgeons then used this 3D company to produce different forms of models. This one is made out of a material, and all of this relates to the fourth industrial revolution. This particular model of the two children's skull is made out of material that is similar to skull bone. So when the surgeons use their special saws and they cut through the model, it is as if they're cutting through skull, right? So material science together with 3D printing and then, of course, biology. The other models that the 3D company made was of the children's skulls, but they tried to simulate the vessels and the common brain tissue you see over here, about 4 centimeters. So they produced a whole series of models, and the materials used for this particular 3D prints, they're different, all of them. This one was closest in representing what vessels feel like. So if you take a scalpel and you cut through this material, it would be as if you're cutting through a vessel, right? So the surgeons had this advantage of going through this kind of operation without physically operating on the children. So alhamdulillah, at the end of a 27-hour operation, started on a Thursday morning in November, finished on a Friday evening. This is after the operation, and a few months later you see the children for the first time in 18 months as side by side, not joined at the head, bi'ithnillah, right?
They have 50% of the brain, or?
No, they performed the separation without any major neurological damage to either of the babies. In fact, the statistic, Dr. Muhammad, you may know, with this kind of surgery called craniopagus surgery, until the 1980s or 1990s, it was common that you have to sacrifice one of the twins for the other to survive. So now this is quite unique because the rate of success through Allah's grace is much higher using the technology, right? So here the children, they look reasonably happy and healthy, alhamdulillah, after the separation. But what has this got to do with the fourth industrial revolution? If you took a CT scan of the children, it's a two-dimensional image, you can get some sense of what the brain tissue, common brain tissue is, etc. But in no way is a 3D model or a series of 3D models comparable to a two-dimensional CT scan or MRI, right? So the way the technology presented opportunities for the surgeons to perform this successfully is quite unique. So this then brings us to a definition of what we mean by the fourth industrial revolution. It's a merging of the physical, digital, and the biological worlds now on a new platform. It's never been done in human history before, where these three spheres, the physical, the human, and the cyber worlds coming together on one platform. And I thought that operation of the conjoined twins is a good practical example of how technology and human interaction with this kind of 3D printing, etc., can contribute to the fourth industrial revolution. So we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which means there were three before it, right? And this is a description of the three previous industrial revolutions. You know, when man first realized that steam can be used for mechanical production, it happened in the 1800s, right? Steam and water led to mechanical production, the first industrial revolution. Prior to this, everything that man did was manual. Farming, it was largely agrarian, etc. Agriculture was all manual, right? But this brought about mechanical production. And then a century later, in the 19th century, man discovered electricity. the light bulb. And that allowed people to get into factories, do mass production, factories open till much later, after dark, etc. That was known as the second industrial revolution when electricity was discovered. The third one happened about 60 years ago when the IT revolution started with the first computers around the late 1960s, known as the third industrial revolution, when IT and automated production for the first time was possible. Of course, in the 1960s, supercomputers were as large as these rooms. They were really sophisticated for the era, and today, if I were to compare a machine from the 1960s, a supercomputer, to a modern day equipment, then now, no, it will be less, doctor. It will be less. This is an iPhone 10. The iPhone 4, I don't know how many of you had an iPhone 4. Yeah. The iPhone 4 has more computing power than the supercomputer of the 1970s. The iPhone 4. And it is in everybody's, even, in fact, our children don't want iPhone 4. They tell you it's embarrassing. How can I have an iPhone 4, right? But the supercomputer, so it just goes to show the rate of technological development over the last 50 years. And of course, we are now at the fourth industrial revolution. The issue is a question mark because we're really at the start of the fourth industrial revolution. We don't know how this is going to pan out. We are seeing disruptive technology. That's at the first wave of the fourth industrial revolution, hence the big question mark of cyber physical systems. I don't know if some of you heard the term transhumanism. Transhumanism. Now? Yeah, so there's a movement started in the 1970s or so where people are saying, you know, why must human beings be the way they are? Why don't you design the human to be an augmented human? These are all complicated subjects. And today we're not going to discuss the fiqh of it. We're only discussing the fourth industrial revolution. But these are now, they're blurring the lines between humanity, science, technology, and Allah's creation. So transhumanism is a movement that is taking advantage of the fourth industrial revolution in saying, can we create, in inverted commas, the augmented human? So if a couple wants to have a baby, and the baby wants to be a basketball player, they can choose the qualities and design the DNA so that the child is born with a particular skill set and potential traits that would make that person an expert in basketball, for example. So it's designer babies, right, in the era of transhumanism. And mankind has become so, now? It's like Michael Jackson when he did. He tried to do, yeah, he was a rudimentary example of what scientists are doing with a lot more success now, like where you don't have to...
Like they designed the dinosaur in Jurassic Park.
Yes, yes, but... For the future. Precisely, but now they're doing it with human beings, which is becoming very sensitive. You see, when you interfere with the nature of man, you know, Allah's creation, then we are on a slippery slope. But we'll talk about that a little. So these are the four industrial revolutions. The fourth is our concern in this presentation, and these are the previous three. Let's move on. This, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, is a little graph drawn up by economists about how humanity has developed for the last 9,000 years. Okay? So here on this axis is time. This is the present time. And on this axis here is the population growth of humanity. Can you see? So let's take the year 9,000 years ago. Roughly the time just at the beginning of human creation on earth. 9,000 years ago, the population obviously was just about zero. Adam and Eve, right? And as we progress with time, 6,000 years ago, roughly the population was 1 billion. 4,000 years ago, around the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the population was regarded to be around 2 billion, etc., etc., etc. But can you see something happened in this period here? What's happening here? What's happening here? There's a spike in the growth of human population, that's the one thing. So let's take a point over here on the x-axis. This is now just the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, somewhere where the red dot is, right? And if you go across, still 1 billion. But if you go to 2000, go to 2018 where we are, population is now 7 billion. You follow? So on the one hand, humanity has grown significantly in population for the last 50, 60 years. This curve shows it. But the other thing is all these little big dots here. See, pottery was discovered 6,000 years ago. And then a little later, 1,000 years later, the first plow, you know it's a plow, for farming, was regardedly discovered then. Then irrigation, about 4,500 years ago. Then the first city officially known to man was discovered just after the year 4000. 3,000 years ago, metallurgy. Maybe Dhul-Qarnayn lived in this area here. You know, when he built this wall for the people to protect them against Agog and Magog. You know, Surah Kahf. We'll talk about that. Maybe metallurgy was discovered then, etc. Writing 3,000 years, etc., etc., etc. Now look at the number of dots appearing here in frequency. Can you see it's a lot more? No. And of course we are in this big circle here where things are moving at breakneck speed. You know, I've got the iPhone 10. 6 months later it will become obsolete. Or how many of you unfortunately have Samsung? Now I'm teasing. It will become obsolete very quickly. The moment you buy something, the next level of the product is available. So the rate and pace of change in this era with human development is increasing at a breakneck speed. We call it the velocity of disruption. These are engineering terms. The velocity of disruption. So this is an interesting graph of what is happening to humanity in the 21st century. Everybody comfortable? Let's focus on the speed. What happened in the last 8.5, 9,000 years? This is the pace. It was very laid back. In South Africa, in Zulu, we say gashle. Yeah, you know, in Arabic you say shwaya, shwaya. Huh? Easy, slowly, slowly. But what is happening here is a rapid development of technology, rapid development of disruptive technology. There's another term called exponential technology, right? So that is what is causing the velocity. The disruption, we will unpack it, inshallah. What's driving then the fourth industrial revolution? What is the technology and what is the disruption behind it? For example, but let's now answer your question. There are 3 words here, brothers and sisters. I want you to just to become familiar with these words. Let's look at the definition. Ma ma'na iteration? Anybody knows? What do you think is iteration? Somebody try, please. Planning. No. Huh? Creating. Okay. We're getting warmer. What is iteration? Yes, sir.
Exploring of thinking.
Exploring. Okay, warm.
I will ask a friend or
You can make telephone call. Mafi mushkila, you can ask Google. What is iteration? Iteration. Uncle Sam.
maybe Sami.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Good to see you.
Sami, the first word, what means?
This
Iteration. Iteration.
To tell.
To speak, to tell. Okay, Uncle Sam's also warm. Yeah.
Iterate and reiterate. So it's
There's it. Okay, we're getting hot now. Okay, we're getting hotter. We're getting hotter. So iteration, it's hashmat, huh? Hashmat. So iteration means I do something repeatedly, but every time I do it better. Yes.
Like a tikrar.
Yes. What Arabic word? Taqarrara? What to, huh? Yeah, so to repeat, but to repeat, but to get better every time you repeat. Is that the correct word? As long as you understand. Now?
No. Perfect is something else.
Something. Trying to perfect. Huh?
Basically you don't, you're moving forward and you're not repeating the same major mistake you made.
That's it. Every time you do a new, for example, I draw something. And I don't like my drawing. I try to draw it better. My second iteration should be better than my first iteration. Then I say, you know what, I still can do better. I try a third iteration. It must be better than the other two, okay? This iteration, tayyib. What is innovation? To improve, yes. With addition, yes. I want to look for some key words. What is innovation? This, I'm not talking bid'ah, huh? We're talking innovation. Something new. Naam. So the operative word is something jadid. Something new.
But also new but better.
New and better, certainly. All of these two are new and better. But innovation is, you're not just iterating. You leave behind your iteration. I say, look, I don't want to draw with pencil. Can I print it with 3D? Innovation, right? What then is disruption? Disruption. It's related to innovation. Creating something new, yes, but with a difference now. Give me the right, yes, brother.
I think it's creating something new, and it basically does away with whatever they don't do.
So if I had a chocolate, I would give it to you, but I don't have a chocolate. So that's the right answer. So iteration is doing something repeatedly and doing it better. Innovation is something new. Disruption is like innovation, but it leaves behind everything that came before it. Tayyib. It's revolutionary. This is why we call it the fourth industrial revolution. Thawra. What is revolution in Arabic? Huh? Yeah, but in the technological way, not in the Arab Spring way. Right. So this is disruption. Huh? So there's a graph. You don't have to read any of it. You'll have it in your notes, inshallah. McKinsey, you know, McKinsey is a global company, research company. They've come out with 12 disruptive technologies. Disruptive technologies. For example, we'll take one at the bottom, autonomous vehicles. You know what's autonomous vehicles? Yeah. What are autonomous vehicles? Self-driving. Now, it's a classic example of disruption because vehicles are getting better all the time. They get faster, they're safer, they have more technology, they talk to you. But now, no driver in a vehicle is disruptive because you suddenly have taken the person controlling this vehicle out. I don't know if the current autonomous vehicles that we have, made by many companies, Google, Tesla, whatever, they have steering, you know, steering. Although it's not necessary, but to make human beings feel like a normal car. But soon Tesla is saying they will make autonomous vehicles without steerings. That will be very scary. Yeah. So they are so confident of the technology, they're going to build autonomous vehicles without steering. Because human intervention, they say, is not going to be required anymore. So this is an example of disruptive technologies. Now in the US, for Hudhaifa, to make him feel comfortable, we're not leaving his country out, they are reportedly in excess of 16 million drivers of large trucks. Yes. They call them haulers. Yes. Large. If you could travel to the US, you see big trucks carrying goods and whatever across the United States. What will happen to 16 million drivers potentially in an era when autonomous vehicles take over completely? They'll have to become drone operators.
They start maybe last week. They show us big trucks without any drivers.
Yes, it's correct. In fact, as we speak, autonomous vehicles in their pilot studies have driven in excess of 300,000 kilometers. Autonomous vehicles, no drivers. They have driven in excess of 300,000 kilometers with 2 accidents only. And both accidents were caused by vehicles with drivers in them, not the autonomous vehicles. You follow? So this is technology not for the future. This is not like a science fiction movie. We're talking about as we speak, this is the reality. So these are disruptive technologies. Let me give you some examples. So I talked about velocity of disruption. The sound is not very good, but I will explain to you what this man is saying.
So for Virgin Atlantic, we're using the Google Glass to basically enhance the customer experience through our upper class drive-through. So as the car approaches, all the information that the passenger arriving is fed to the glass. And as I greet the passenger, I have all that information to hand, so I do all my checks, and it basically speeds up the process of the passenger through the upper class wing, through the private security channel, and then to our upper class lounge. So,
and this is what you would be seeing?
This is what I would be seeing
okay.
if the passenger needed additional information, or if I need to do my checks. I'm seeing all that through the glass. I can call that up. So it just makes it more personalised for the passenger, and also it gives me the additional information that they need to see if they do need it.
The video continues, but I don't know if you got the gist of what is happening. This is Google Glass, one of the disruptive technologies. And this was a pilot study by Virgin Atlantic, the airline, at Heathrow International in London. And they use facial recognition to recognize a passenger coming out of a flight, especially executive passengers. So I have my Google Glass on. I've never seen him before, but my facial recognition in my Google Glass tells me his name is Muhammad Khan. He comes from Durban. He's traveled on Emirates, so he's had an 8.5-hour flight. He's landed in Dubai. It's all of it is in my Google Glass. His onward flight is to the US. He's landing in Washington. He's got a layover of 4 or 5 hours in Dubai, for example. So the moment I see him, I've never seen him previously, I've got my data coming through in real time. Welcome, Mr. Khan, to Dubai International Airport. I see you've got 5 hours of layover time. This is the lounge you can go to for Emirates. There's a hot meal there. Just remember your flight to New York is going to be at this time. There may not be a reminder, the business lounge. Thank you very much. I see you've got only 1 carry-on luggage, blah, 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 whatever the case is. Now this is Google Glass, but the amount of benefits I can draw out of Google Glass, I will explain to you a little later. This is just one example of disruptive technology. Before this, if I want to welcome passengers, especially business travelers, I would have to say, oh, where's the manifest? You know, airlines call it a manifest. They have a manual list of passengers. I must look now, Durban, oh, Muhammad Khan is coming, he's from this place, he's going to travel. I must now go and find the manifest for New York. It's United Airlines. I must see how long his layover is at the lounge, etc. Now I do it in real time using my glasses. It's completely seamless, right? And the tremendous benefits. Do you get this example then of disruptive technology, okay? We look at a few more. These are common examples. In fact, they are now old. You all know them. Uber, the largest taxi company, they own no vehicles. They own no vehicles. Uber is an app. Uber is an app. The world's largest, of course there are many rivals now, the world's largest taxi company. They don't own any taxis. But this app, see how you create wealth. This app in 12 years is worth just under $60 billion in market value. It's only an app. It lives in the cloud. There's no legacy infrastructure. There are no vehicles. There's nothing. It is part of what is called the connection economy. You connect drivers and cars with customers who need a ride. It's called the connection economy. So it lives in the cloud. It has no real estate. It's got no asset. It's an app that is now worth just under $60 billion in just over 10 years since its introduction. That's disruptive because, as you know, it has completely messed up the global taxi industry. There have been protests around the world. Either you join Uber or you don't join Uber if you have a taxi. Airbnb, some of you may know, is an online app that allows you to book a holiday, and you don't need a travel agent. You get ratings, you get the best rates. It manages one hotel room across multiple sites. It's known as the world's largest provider of accommodation, but they don't own a single square meter of real estate. So this has disruptive ability has messed up the global hospitality industry. People have gone out of business because of Airbnb. Facebook, of course, Facebook is a very naughty company because they're sharing all our data with everybody. You heard the story about this British company that has been sharing the data of Facebook users.
60 million.
Aywa. Now.
Yes, Booking goes before Airbnb.
Which one? Bookings.com.
Yeah.
Yes, Bookings.com, except that Airbnb is much larger in market value. So this is example of autonomous vehicles, trucks, cars, passenger vehicles, all sorts of transport. These are two examples of Google and Tesla vehicles who are completely driverless. Now after the World Economic Forum in 2016, when the fourth industrial revolution was first discussed, they commissioned a number of artists to draw what technologies could be in the near future. So this is an artist impression. Can you see the scene? Where is this? Which continent? This is Africa, probably. There's a lady who's being treated by a robot who is artificially intelligent. And you can see the robot has got, you see, no legs. It's got an all-terrain vehicle. You know, it's like you send a rover to Mars. It looks like this. So the artists are working with healthcare professionals to say, what are the possibilities then? Robots we know. What if you make robots artificially intelligent? And machine learning is a concept you must know. You know what's machine learning? Machine learning is like iteration, but machines that are artificially intelligent, when they are deployed in a task, if they make an error, the machine teaches itself to get better at it. The concept is machine learning. So you don't need human intervention to change the programming. Self-correction. So machine learning is how artificially intelligent machines get better at themselves. So they're looking at artificial intelligence and robotics combined together for healthcare, treating a person in a rural area in Africa. This could apply to India, this could apply to South America, any other area where access to healthcare is a major challenge. And all of this is possible. Of course, we know that doctors already are able to perform operations in foreign locations by using artificially intelligent gloves. Now we are saying, can robots do this and completely replace the doctor? So, okay, so there's two or three interesting things coming together. On the one hand, in the remote location you have a robot.
Yes.
That robot is now moved by sensors. And in the location where the surgeon is sitting, he's using an artificially intelligent gloves which uses the sensors from his movements, and the technology that translates the sense and pulse across to the robot across a continent is either Wi-Fi, the cloud, Bluetooth technology. All the bits that are required to make a robotic operation in a foreign continent already exist. I'll show you a few examples now.
You will have 3D.
Now,
I can see lots of issues with that.
No, there are many. Today, if we're discussing fiqh, we will have to cancel the rest of the IPCI program and remain here.
I'm talking about what you use your Wi-Fi connection.
Aha, this is the issue. Absolutely, absolutely, and people are thinking through all of these issues. Remember, the major disruptors sitting in Silicon Valley or sitting somewhere in India or in Europe or in Africa for that matter are thinking through, without mobile internet and Wi-Fi, the entire fourth industrial revolution will collapse. Right? So they're thinking through, how can you make consistent Wi-Fi? India, for example, has only 10% coverage geographically, which is a massive problem. 90% of people in India may not be able to get stable Wi-Fi, and so the technology is not going to be able to work. But it's very possible. Brothers and sisters, listen to me carefully. Hudhaifa, listen to me carefully. He's looking shocked. You see,
Out of the world.
Huh?
It's out of the world.
No.
I'm old-fashioned in my way.
No, me too. But we have to get used to this. I'll tell you what. Google. Who doesn't know the word Google? Nobody. Google was a research project, Hashmat. 17 years ago, it was only a research project for a master's dissertation at Stanford University. Not 170 years ago, 17 years ago, less than 2 decades. Tell me, what will you do today, 17 years later, without mobile internet? You can't. In 17 years only. Mobile internet is completely radical stuff. I was recently in Morocco trying to drive from Casablanca to another place. If I didn't have Google Maps, I would be lost. You can today literally never get lost, if you have access to Wi-Fi or if you have data in your phone. Mobile internet has radically transformed the way humanity engages with the planet. So all of these technologies are available and it's moving so fast. Google was an idea only 2 decades ago. Today people can't live without mobile internet. So from design to implementation, the timeline is much shorter and it's getting even shorter. So this problem of access to Wi-Fi will become a non-issue probably, but there are some downsides. I draw a quick graph for you, just to show you, in marketing, if any of you have studied marketing, we have a concept called the product life cycle.